I remember the exact moment my wife said those words for the last time. We were standing in our kitchen, the one with the marble countertops she insisted we could not afford, and she was angry because I refused to lend her money for another designer handbag. Diana looked at me with pure contempt and said, "Be a man, Matt. Stop being so controlling with your ridiculous boundaries." That night, something inside me shifted. I had spent 3 years trying to explain why boundaries mattered, why financial responsibility mattered, why mutual respect mattered. She never listened. So I decided to stop explaining altogether. Before I tell you how silence became my strongest weapon, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened next taught me that sometimes the loudest statement you can make is saying absolutely nothing at all. Now let me take you back to where it all started. I met Diana 4 years ago at a coffee shop in Portland, Oregon. She was sitting by the window, laptop open, completely absorbed in whatever she was working on. I ordered my usual black coffee, and when I turned around, I accidentally bumped into her table. She looked up, smiled, and instead of being annoyed, she laughed. That laugh got me. Diana worked as a marketing coordinator for a startup, and she had this energy about her that was magnetic. She was confident, outgoing, everything I was not. I was a software engineer more comfortable with code than conversations, someone who liked structure and predictability. We were opposites, and at first that felt exciting. She pushed me out of my comfort zone. I grounded her when she got too impulsive. We dated for a year before I proposed, and she said yes without hesitation. The wedding was small, just close family and friends, exactly what I wanted. Diana wanted something bigger, but she compromised. I should have seen that compromise bothered her more than she let on. From the very beginning of our relationship, I was clear about my boundaries. I had learned from watching my parents' messy divorce that financial irresponsibility destroys marriages. I told Diana I believed in living within our means, saving for emergencies, and making big decisions together. I also valued privacy, not in a secretive way, but in a healthy way. I did not want to be the kind of couple that checked each other's phones or needed to know every single detail of each other's day. Diana nodded along when I explained these things. She said she respected my values and that she had her own boundaries too. I believed her. The first 6 months of marriage were good. We settled into routines. I worked my 9 to 5, she worked hers, and we cooked dinner together most nights. But then small things started happening. Little tests, I realize now. One day I checked my credit card statement and saw a charge for $500 from an online boutique. I had not made that purchase. When I asked Diana about it, she seemed surprised that I was even bringing it up. "Oh, I used your card to buy some work clothes. I needed them for a presentation," she said casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I kept my voice calm. "Honey, I need you to ask first. That is a lot of money and we budget for a reason." Her face changed instantly. The warmth disappeared. "We are married, Matt. What is yours is mine. Why are you being so controlling over money?" I tried to explain that it was not about control, it was about communication and planning. But she walked away. 2 weeks later, she did it again. Another $300 this time for shoes. I brought it up again more firmly this time, and she rolled her eyes like I was being unreasonable. Then came the privacy issue. I had a female coworker named Sarah. We worked on the same project and sometimes texted about work stuff, usually during business hours. One evening, I left my phone on the kitchen counter while I took a shower. When I came back, Diana was scrolling through my messages with Sarah. My stomach dropped. "What are you doing?" I asked, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. Diana looked up, completely unapologetic. "Just checking who Sarah is. You text her a lot." I felt anger rising but pushed it down. Those are work messages, Diana. You cannot go through my phone without asking. That is a violation of my privacy. She laughed. Actually laughed. If you have nothing to hide, why does it matter? Are you texting other women behind my back? That was the first time she twisted my boundary into something ugly, something suspicious. I was not hiding anything. I just believed that even in marriage, people deserved basic respect and trust. But explaining that to Diana felt like talking to a wall. Every time I set a boundary, she found a way to make me the villain. She would guilt-trip me, saying things like, married couples should not have secrets. She would gaslight me, telling me I was too sensitive or overreacting. And increasingly, she would attack my masculinity. Real men do not act like this, she said one night after I asked her to contribute more to our shared expenses. She had gotten a raise at work, but was still spending like her paycheck had not changed. I was not asking her to pay for everything, just to be fair. But to Diana, my request meant I was not man enough to provide. That phrase, be a man, started appearing more and more in our arguments. It became Diana's weapon of choice. When I did not want to go to a party with her friends at 11 at night, on a work night, she said, be a man, stop being so boring. When I suggested we hold off on buying a house because we had not saved enough for a down payment, she said, be a man, take some risks for once. Every disagreement became an attack on my character, my masculinity, my worth. If I brought up our credit card debt, which was now hovering around $8,000, mostly from her spending, she would roll her eyes and say, be a man and provide for your wife instead of complaining. If I mentioned that I needed some time alone after a stressful week at work, she would scoff and say, be a man, you are acting like a child. The worst part was that she truly believed she was right. In her mind, my boundaries were not reasonable requests for mutual respect. They were obstacles to her happiness, proof that I was not the man she thought she married. I tried everything to make her understand. I bought books on healthy relationships and left them on the coffee table hoping she would read them. She never did. I suggested couples therapy. She refused, saying, there is nothing wrong with me. You are the one with issues. I wrote her letters explaining how her words hurt me, how dismissing my boundaries made me feel invisible. She read one, crumpled it up, and said, you are too sensitive, Matt. Grow up. Then her family got involved, and everything got worse. Diana had always been close with her mother, Patricia, and her older brother, Kyle. I liked them at first. Patricia seemed warm and welcoming, and Kyle was friendly enough. But after Diana started complaining to them about our marriage, their attitudes toward me changed completely. One day, Patricia called me while I was at work. Matt, we need to talk about how you are treating my daughter, she said, her voice cold and accusatory. I was confused. What do you mean? I asked. Diana tells me you are controlling her spending and refusing to let her have friends. That is not how a husband should act. I was stunned. I had never controlled Diana's spending. I had only asked her to stay within our budget. And I certainly never stopped her from having friends. I tried to explain this to Patricia, but she cut me off. My daughter deserves better. You need to be more flexible and stop being so uptight. She hung up before I could respond. Later that week, Kyle sent me a long text message. Dude, just let her be happy. Why are you so uptight? Marriage is about compromise. Stop making everything a big deal. I stared at that message for a long time. They had no idea what was actually happening in our marriage. They only knew Diana's version, the version where I was the villain who made her life difficult. I felt surrounded. At home, Diana dismissed everything I said. Her family thought I was the problem. I had a few friends from work, but I was too embarrassed to tell them what was happening. How do you explain that your wife calls you weak every time you try to have a mature conversation? How do you admit that you are starting to doubt yourself, wondering if maybe everyone else is right, and you really are too sensitive. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night in late March. Diana went out with her friends to a bar downtown. I did not have a problem with that. I never tried to stop her from having a social life. I just asked her to text me when she got home, especially if it was late, so I would know she was safe. That was my boundary. Not controlling, just caring. She agreed, said she would be home by midnight. Midnight came and went. I texted her at 12:30. No response. I called at 1 in the morning. Voicemail. By 2 in the morning, I was wide awake, pacing the living room, genuinely worried something had happened to her. She finally walked through the door at 2:15. I was so relieved that I did not even feel angry at first. Diana, thank God. I was so worried. Why did not you text me back? She looked at me like I had just said the most ridiculous thing in the world. I was having fun, Matt. I was not checking my phone every 5 minutes. I took a deep breath. I was not asking you to check every 5 minutes. I just wanted one text to know you were okay. Her face twisted in anger. I am not a child. Stop trying to control me. I felt something inside me crack. I am not trying to control you. I just want to know my wife is safe when she is out at 2 in the morning. That is not unreasonable. Diana stepped closer, her voice rising. You want to control me because you are insecure. You cannot handle that I have a life outside of you. Be a man and trust your wife. That phrase again. Be a man. Like trusting someone meant never caring about their safety. Like setting a simple boundary about communication made me less of a man. We argued until 4 in the morning. She said she was tired of walking on eggshells, tired of my boundaries, tired of me making her feel guilty for living her life. I tried to explain one more time that boundaries were not about guilt or control. They were about respect. She did not care. She went to bed angry. I sat on the couch exhausted and defeated. The next morning, something in me changed. I woke up and realized I had been fighting a losing battle for 3 years. Diana did not want to understand boundaries. She wanted me to have none, so she could do whatever she wanted without consequence. And her family would always take her side no matter what. I thought about leaving, but I was not ready to make that decision yet. Instead, I made a different choice. If Diana wanted me to stop having boundaries, I would give her exactly what she asked for. But not in the way she expected. I would stop explaining. I would stop arguing. I would stop sharing anything with her. I would become a ghost in my own marriage, present but unreachable. When she came downstairs that morning, she expected another fight. Instead, I looked at her and said one word. Understood. She blinked, surprised. What? I poured myself coffee. I understand. You are tired of my boundaries. I will stop. Diana smiled, actually smiled like she had won. Good. Finally, you are being reasonable. I did not correct her. I just nodded and went to work. She had no idea what I had really meant. The next 2 months were the strangest of my life. I continued living in the same house as Diana, sleeping in the same bed, going through the motions of marriage, but I was completely disconnected. I stopped asking her about her day. When she asked me about mine, I gave one-word answers. Fine. Good. Nothing much. I stopped suggesting we do things together. If she wanted to go out, I said, okay. If she wanted to stay home, I said, okay. I became agreeable to everything because I had stopped caring about the outcome. Diana noticed the change, but she misinterpreted it completely. See, this is so much better, she said one evening while we were eating dinner in silence. You are finally relaxing and not being so uptight. I nodded and kept eating. She thought I had given in. She thought she had won. She had no idea that every day I was pulling further and further away, that I was planning something she would never see coming. About 6 weeks into my new strategy, I received an email that changed everything. A recruiter from a major tech company in Austin, Texas, reached out about a senior engineer position. The pay was nearly double what I was making in Portland. The role had significant growth potential, and Austin's cost of living was lower. It was an incredible opportunity. Old Matt would have immediately discussed it with Diana. We would have weighed the pros and cons together, talked about what moving would mean for her career, for our families, for our life. But I was not Old Matt anymore. I responded to the recruiter without saying a word to Diana. The interview process moved quickly. 3 video interviews over 2 weeks, then a final in-person interview that I told Diana was a work conference. I flew to Austin, met the team, toured the office, and fell in love with the city. It was vibrant, full of opportunity, and 3 states away from Diana's family. At the end of the day, they offered me the position on the spot. I asked for 2 days to think about it. I did not need 2 days. I needed time to set other things in motion. That night, I called a divorce attorney named Greg Harrison. I found him online, read reviews, and scheduled a consultation. Greg was in his 50s, experienced and straightforward. I met him at his office on a Saturday morning while Diana thought I was playing basketball with co-workers. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, Matt. That makes things simpler. You will need to file a petition, serve her papers, and then wait 90 days for the divorce to be finalized. Since you have no children and you can divide assets fairly easily, this should not be complicated unless she contests it. I nodded. What do I need to do? Greg walked me through the process. File the petition, gather financial documents, open a separate bank account document, everything. I started immediately. I went to a different bank and opened a new checking account. I transferred half of our savings into it, which was legally my right. I made copies of all our important documents, tax returns, mortgage papers, credit card statements. I did all of this during lunch breaks and after Diana went to bed. She never noticed. She was too busy enjoying what she thought was her victory, a husband who finally stopped having boundaries. 2 weeks later, I accepted the job in Austin. I signed the contract, electronically scheduled my start date for 3 weeks out, and began looking for apartments. I found a nice 1-bedroom place near the office, put down a deposit, and arranged for movers. Every evening after Diana went to sleep, I packed small boxes of my personal belongings and stored them in the garage. Books, clothes, important keepsakes from my life before Diana. She never went into the garage, so she never saw the growing pile of boxes. Diana continued her life as usual during this time. She went out with friends multiple times a week, came home late, spent money freely. A few times she asked me if everything was okay because I was being so quiet. I always said the same thing. Everything is fine. Just busy with work. She seemed satisfied with that answer. Why would not she be? In her mind, she had finally trained me to stop complaining, to stop having those annoying boundaries, to just let her live her life. She thought she had broken me into submission. She had no idea I was building an exit strategy. The night I served the divorce papers, I came home from work at the usual time. Diana was on the couch watching some reality show, eating chips straight from the bag. The house was a mess because she had stopped doing any housework months ago, assuming I would pick up the slack. I used to. I stopped. I walked over to the coffee table and set down a manila envelope. "These are for you," I said calmly. Diana did not even look up at first. "What is it?" She reached for the envelope, lazily still watching the TV. Then she opened it and pulled out the papers. I watched her face change as she read the first page. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The room went completely silent, except for the TV. Diana's hand started shaking. She read the words again, like maybe she had misunderstood. Then she looked up at me, her face pale. "What is this?" Her voice was barely a whisper. I sat down in the chair across from her, keeping my expression neutral. "Divorce papers. I am filing for divorce." She stared at me, mouth open, like I had just spoken a foreign language. "Are you serious? Is this some kind of joke?" I shook my head. "No joke. I have accepted a job in Austin, Texas. I am moving in 2 weeks. The movers come next Friday." Diana stood up so fast she knocked over her drink. "You cannot be serious. You cannot just make this decision without me. We are married, Matt." I felt a bitter smile tug at my lips. "You told me to stop having boundaries. You told me to be a man and stop overthinking everything. So I made a decision. Alone. Just like you wanted." Understanding started to dawn on her face, and with it came panic. "This is because of our arguments, Matt. Every couple fights. We can work this out. We can go to therapy like you wanted. I will change." I had heard promises like that before. They meant nothing. "We tried for 3 years, Diana. You never respected my boundaries. You never respected me. I am done trying." She started crying, then real tears streaming down her face. "Please, Matt, do not do this. I love you. I will be better, I promise." But her tears did not move me. I had cried too many nights alone while she was out, too many mornings after she called me weak, too many times I questioned my own worth because of her words. I stood up. "You have 30 days to respond to the petition. My attorney's information is in the packet. I will be staying at a hotel until I leave." I turned to walk toward the bedroom to pack a bag. That was when Diana played her final card. "Matt, wait." Her voice had changed. The panic was still there, but now there was something else. Desperation. I turned back. She wiped her eyes and took a shaky breath. "I was going to tell you this weekend. I am pregnant." The world seemed to stop. I felt my heart drop into my stomach. Pregnant. A baby. Our baby. For a split second, I felt everything I had built up crumble. Then logic kicked in. I looked at Diana closely. "What?" She nodded, more tears falling. "I am 6 weeks pregnant. I took a test this morning. You cannot leave now, Matt. We are having a baby." 6 weeks, I thought back. We had barely been intimate in the last 2 months. And just last weekend I watched Diana drink 3 glasses of wine at her friend's birthday party. She would not do that if she knew she was pregnant. The timing, the delivery, everything about this felt wrong. I took a breath and looked her straight in the eye. "Show me the test." Her face faltered. "What?" I repeated slower. "Show me the pregnancy test." Diana blinked. "I took it this morning. I threw it away." I pulled out my phone. "Then we will take another one right now. I will drive to the pharmacy and buy one. We will do it together." Diana's face went from pale to red. "Matt, it is late. We can do it tomorrow." I shook my head. "No. Now. If you are carrying my child, we do this right now." She started stammering. "I do not know if it will show up yet. It might be too early. False negatives happen." I kept my voice steady. "Then we will take 3 different brands. Right now." I grabbed my keys and walked to the door. Diana followed me, still making excuses, but I did not stop. We drove to a 24-hour pharmacy in complete silence. I bought 3 different pregnancy tests, the most expensive and accurate ones. We drove back home. I handed them to her. "All 3. Now." Diana took the boxes with shaking hands and went into the bathroom. I stood outside the door counting the minutes. 5 minutes later, she came out. Her face told me everything before she even showed me the tests. All 3 were negative. Not a hint of a second line. Nothing. She tried one more time. "Maybe it is too early. These things are not always accurate." I looked at the tests, then at her. Or maybe you lied. Which is it, Diana? She broke down completely, then sliding down to sit on the floor, sobbing. I panicked. I did not want to lose you. I thought if you believed I was pregnant, you would stay. I felt nothing but a deep, bone-deep tiredness. You already lost me, Diana. 3 years ago. When you decided my boundaries did not matter, when you started calling me weak for having self-respect, when you chose to dismiss everything I felt. You lost me then. This just makes it final. She looked up at me, mascara running down her face. I am sorry. I am so sorry. Please. I shook my head. I am still leaving. The papers stand. You have 30 days to respond. After that, it is done. The next 2 weeks were tense. Diana tried everything. She promised to change, to go to therapy, to respect my boundaries. She blamed her behavior on stress from work. She cried, she begged, she got angry. She called her mother, who called me screaming about how I was abandoning her daughter. Kyle sent threatening texts saying I was going to regret this. I did not engage with any of it. I stayed at a hotel, went to work, and prepared for my move. Greg handled all communication with Diana's eventual attorney. The divorce process in Oregon was straightforward, since we had no children and could divide our assets cleanly. The house would be sold, profits split. Debts would be divided. Everything by the book. The day the movers came, Diana was not home. She had gone to stay with Patricia, unable to watch me pack up my life. I was grateful for that. I did not want another scene. I loaded my furniture, my belongings, everything that was mine, and watched as the truck drove away toward Texas. I spent one last night in that empty house, sleeping on an air mattress in what used to be our bedroom. I thought I would feel sad, but instead I felt relief. Liberation. Like I had been holding my breath for 3 years and could finally exhale. I drove to Austin the next day. It took me 28 hours with stops. I listened to podcasts, music, anything to keep my mind occupied. When I crossed the Texas state line, I felt something shift. A weight lifting. I was not running away. I was running toward something better. My new apartment was small but perfect. Clean, modern mine. I unpacked slowly over the next week, setting up my space exactly how I wanted it. No compromises. No arguments about where things should go. Just peace. The job was everything I hoped it would be. The team was collaborative and respectful. My manager valued my input and expertise. I threw myself into work, grateful for the distraction and the challenge. After hours, I explored Austin. I found a good gym, a coffee shop, I liked a park where I could run. I built a routine that was entirely my own. 90 days after I filed the petition, the divorce was finalized. Diana had not contested anything. Greg called me with the news. "It is done, Matt. You are officially divorced." I thanked him, hung up, and sat in my apartment for a long moment. 3 years of my life over. I did not feel regret. I felt free. 6 months later, I was thriving. Work was going well. I had gotten a promotion. I had made friends, real friends, who respected boundaries and treated each other with kindness. I joined a men's therapy group to process the emotional abuse I had endured in my marriage. It helped more than I expected. Hearing other men share similar stories made me realize I was not alone, and I was not crazy. What Diana did was not normal. It was manipulation. And recognizing that was part of healing. One evening, a coworker invited me to a happy hour. I almost said no. I had gotten comfortable with my solitude, but something made me go. That is where I met Emily. She was a product manager at a different tech company, smart and independent, with an easy laugh. We talked for hours about everything: work, books, travel, life. At the end of the night, she gave me her number. We started seeing each other casually. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people enjoying each other's company. On our third date, I told her about my divorce. I was honest about everything. The boundaries I had set, the way Diana dismissed them, the emotional toll it took. I told her I was still figuring things out, still healing. Emily listened without judgment. Then she said something that stuck with me. I appreciate you telling me this. I have boundaries too. I think healthy relationships are built on mutual respect for those boundaries. If we keep seeing each other, let us promise to always communicate ours clearly. I felt something click into place. This was what partnership was supposed to feel like. Emily and I took things slow. We dated for months before making anything official. We talked about our needs, our expectations, our boundaries. When conflicts came up, we addressed them with respect and honesty. She never made me feel weak for having standards. She never told me to just get over it or be a man. She treated me like an equal partner. It was such a stark contrast to my marriage with Diana that sometimes I could not believe it was real. But it was. This was what I deserved all along. Looking back now, I do not regret the 3 years I spent with Diana. They taught me what I will not tolerate, what I will not compromise on, and what I truly value in a relationship. Those years were hard, but they made me stronger. They taught me that boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are doors. The right people will respect those doors, knock politely, and wait for you to let them in. The wrong people will try to kick them down, tell you the doors should not exist, make you feel guilty for having them in the first place. Be a man does not mean accepting disrespect. It does not mean abandoning your values to make someone else comfortable. It doesn't mean suffering in silence while someone chips away at your self-worth. Being a man means knowing who you are, what you stand for, and having the courage to walk away from people who refuse to honor that. It means protecting your peace even when everyone around you tells you that you are wrong. It means trusting yourself when the world tries to convince you that you are the problem. Diana wanted me to drop my boundaries because they were inconvenient for her. She wanted a husband she could control, someone who would fund her lifestyle and never question her choices. When I refused to be that person, she attacked the core of who I was. She made me doubt myself. She made me wonder if I was too sensitive, too rigid, too difficult. It took hitting rock bottom, sitting on that couch at 4 a.m. after another pointless argument to realize the truth. I was not the problem. My boundaries were not the problem. The problem was being with someone who saw my self-respect as an obstacle. So I stopped explaining. I stopped defending. I stopped trying to make her understand. Instead, I made a plan. I took control of my life in a way I had not in years. And when I finally walked away, I did not just leave a bad marriage. I walked into the life I actually deserved. A life where I am valued, respected, and free to be myself without apology. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. And I am grateful every single day that I found the strength to do exactly that. If someone keeps telling you to drop your boundaries, they are really asking you to drop your self-respect. And the moment you realize that is the moment you get your power back. Sometimes being a man means knowing when to walk away. And I walked away into the life I actually deserved. Have you ever been told your boundaries were too much in a relationship? What did you do? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your story. If this resonated with you, smash that like button and subscribe for more real stories about standing up for yourself. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you for watching, and remember, your boundaries matter. Never let anyone convince you otherwise. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.